Nike. Somewhere in this story, a kitchen appliance destroyed in 1971 is still running marathons today. Somewhere in this story, the last words of a man facing a firing squad became the most repeated instruction in the history of human ambition. Somewhere in this story, a man with no product, no company, no credentials walked into a foreign boardroom and invented a billion-dollar empire in the time it takes to answer a single question. 3 mysteries, 3 moments. None of them were supposed to happen the way they happened. And if even one of them had gone differently, you would not be wearing what you are wearing right now. This is not a story about shoes. This is a story about what happens when obsession, grief, accident, and audacity collide at exactly the right moment in history. To understand Nike, you must first understand a particular kind of madness. Not the madness of ambition, not the madness of greed. The madness of a man who believes in something before there is any evidence he should. Phil Knight was 24 years old. He had a Stanford MBA, a one-way ticket to Japan, and a theory so simple it bordered on embarrassing. The theory was this: Japanese running shoes were technically better. Nobody in America had noticed. He could be the person who noticed. Psychologists call this contrarian conviction, the ability to hold a belief that contradicts the consensus with more confidence than the consensus holds its own position. Those who possess this trait are considered delusional. A few, a very few, are considered visionary. The difference between the two is usually a single meeting. Knight walked into the offices of Onitsuka Tiger in Kobe. He had no samples, no business cards, no company. The executives asked, "What company are you representing?" And here, right here, is where the first mystery begins to breathe. Because in that silence, that 3-second gap between the question and the answer, Phil Knight did not panic. He did not say, "I'm working on it." He did not say, "I don't have one yet." Blue Ribbon Sports. A company that did not exist. A name he had never spoken aloud before that moment. A lie that became true the instant he told it. Philosophers call this performative declaration. The idea that some statements do not describe reality, but actually create it. Sports. He walked out with distribution rights. He drove back to Oregon. He sold shoes from the trunk of his car at track meets. First-year revenue, $8,000. He was a man running a company he had invented in a sentence, selling shoes he had not made, for a brand he did not own, and he had never been more certain of anything in his life. This is the psychology that built Nike. Not, "I will build something great," but it is already built. I just need everyone else to catch up. Mystery reveal, Layer 1. 4:45. What was actually sold at those track meets? Here is what history books leave out about those early years. Phil Knight was not just selling shoes at track meets. He was selling something far more dangerous. He was selling the idea that an outsider could know something the insiders didn't. Every runner who bought from his trunk was not just buying a shoe. They were buying into a conspiracy. We know something the big brands don't. Sociologists call this, in group mystique, the bonding power of shared secret knowledge. Nike didn't just build a customer base. He built a tribe. Before Nike had a logo, before Nike had a name, before Nike had a factory, it had believers. And that is always where empires begin.
The coach who couldn't stop thinking. Bill Bowerman was not a businessman. He was something rarer and more dangerous.
He was a man with a single, consuming, relentless question. What if the shoe were different? Coached 31 All-Americans, 51 NSAR champions, 12 American record holders. He had watched more elite runners than almost any human alive. And what he had concluded from decades of watching human beings run themselves to the edge of their biology was that the bottleneck was not the lungs, not the legs, not the heart. It was the shoe. He had done the mathematics. 1 ounce removed from a running shoe saves 55 pounds of lift over a single mile. 55 pounds over 1 mile from 1 ounce. This is the kind of equation that changes how a person sees the world. That makes them unable to look at any shoe without seeing everything that is wrong with it. He took apart every shoe he could find. He reassembled them with less. He glued. He stitched. He ruined. He began again. Wife Barbara called it an obsession. She was correct. And then one morning in 1971, the morning that changes everything, he looked across the breakfast table at the waffle iron. Everyone knows Bowerman poured urethane into the waffle iron. Everyone knows it destroyed the appliance. Everyone knows it created the soul that went to the 1972 Olympics. What nobody tells you is what that moment actually was. It was not invention. It was permission. Bowerman had been thinking about that grid pattern, that lattice of grip and air, for years. The waffle iron didn't give him the idea. The waffle iron gave him the courage. The difference between a man who has a thought and a man who destroys his wife's breakfast appliance at 6 in the morning in pursuit of it. That difference is the entire distance between ideas and history. Psychologists call this the commitment threshold, the moment a person stops protecting their dignity in favor of their vision. Bowerman crossed it with a kitchen appliance and a cup of liquid rubber. Every great technology in human history has a moment like this. A moment that looked, from the outside, like madness. The Wright brothers' neighbors thought they were building a machine to kill themselves. Edison's investors thought the phonograph was a toy for children. and Barbara Bowerman thought her husband had ruined breakfast. She was right about the breakfast. History was right about everything else. The man who taught America to want something it couldn't name. In 1970, Nike signed a runner named Steve Prefontaine. They called him Pre. Pre was not the fastest runner in America. He was not the most decorated. He was not the most technically efficient. He was something brands cannot manufacture and cannot buy. He was inevitable. There is a concept in sociology called expressive individualism, the idea that the most powerful identities are not built on achievement, but on style. Not what you do, but how you do it. Pre ran from the front. Every race, from the first step. He did not calculate. He did not conserve. He did not wait for his moment. He gave you his moment. All of it, for as long as the race lasted. He said, "A race is a work of art that people can look at and be affected in as many ways as they are capable of understanding." Read that again. A runner, a 20-year-old runner from Coos Bay, Oregon, described an athletic competition as a work of art. He was not wrong. He was early. Because what Pre understood, what Nike would build its entire identity around, was something that no marketing textbook had yet found language for. People do not buy products. People buy versions of themselves they have not yet become. When someone laced up a Nike shoe in 1975, they were not buying rubber and foam. They were buying the right to run the way Pre ran. All out, no calculation. No surrender. Brand strategists call this identity projection. But Pre never read a brand strategy document. He simply ran. Years later, corporations spend millions of dollars trying to replicate what he did for free in Oregon before he was old enough to rent a car. He was 24 years old when the car rolled. May 30, 1975. A curve in the road. A night that ended too soon. A man who was trapped beneath the weight of something that should not have ended him. Nike had given him shoes. He had given them something you cannot put a price on. He had given them a soul.